Making a new villain's kinda hard for a legacy series, ain't it? When you have a world that's so neatly established, with expectations from fans on how encounters should go and what makes a good bad guy in your world, it's tricky not to make any new element feel like an OC that you're dunking right in there and hoping people will like. Not only are you competing with the establishment of prior baddies and the opportunity cost of not having another encounter with Bowser or the Joker or Hannibal Lecter or whatever instead, furthering their character interactions or exploring new ones with new characters and new perspectives to challenge them, you're trying to introduce a whole new philosophy with what that bad guy represents. Hopefully, please don't just make the same villain twice. This is doubly true for video games that lean into their gameplay, as not only are you fighting that character perspective, you're also creating an encounter that has to be suitably different from so many others of, alright, how does this game want me to hit this dude 3 times before I win? So many disposable villains exist within the world of games, some of which may have some fans, but usually don't rise above the mark of a mixed reception, and fewer seem to crop up and stick around after their one-and-done appearances. The Donkey Kong franchise is no stranger to this, and has maybe the most pronounced case of it you'll find. You've got one villain that a vast majority of the fan base loves, one guy who's never coming back due to being in a legal limbo, but is generally liked because he's the right combination of tough and stupid, and then a bunch of one-offs whose fan reception ranges from, I think he's going for stoic? I mean, I didn't think about him at all until you brought him up, but he's fine? To, this is the most disappointing thing it could have been. To, what do you mean your lore only exists in the Japanese player's guide for your game? Establishing a new bad guy, especially in a series that's been dormant without its beloved main baddie for so long, is an uphill battle hardly worth fighting. But this guy? He seems like he's in good company, and is too annoying looking to let it take him down for long. Donkey Kong Bananza's Void Kong takes the challenge of not being the villain we want and effectively toys with the game around him to create one thing. Not just a perfectly punchable baddie, but a satisfying one to watch tumble down from his literal high horse as deep into the earth as you can beat him. Let's dive down and see what this manic monkey's all about. Some time ago, Void was a simple prospector monkey, one of many surface-dwelling simians looking to strike it big, but having little success. His mining company was in shambles until he discovered a shining, golden vein of riches beyond belief. A tendril of the legendary Banandium root. Not only was this charged with your daily source of potassium and incredibly valuable, not only did it make an excellent power supply for whatever reason, potassium is nuclear and whatnot, but it connected to a deeper legend. At the planet's core lay the heart of the Banandium root, and the one who grabbed it would have their heart's true wish granted. Unlocked through the power of a voice pure and strong and exploitable by any, no matter how kind or rotten their heart was. Void was immediately possessed by avarice and greed, able to study this smallest vein to grow Void Co. into the world's most powerful mining operation, developing new technologies through Banandium, like the terrain warping all-mine remote, or the data-gathering IntelliSense specs, in order to launch an expedition to the planet's core and take the Banandium route for his own. Void partnered with the construction expert and artisan, Grumpy Kong, and intelligence-gathering prodigy, Poppy Kong to create a massive drilling machine, the Pay Dirt Pile Driver, along with an army of gadgets and minions in order to drill through the planet. From here, he waited to hear of the emergence of Banandium gems across the world. And when news reached his oversized ears that the gems had appeared on Ingot Isle, he sprang into action, burying the mining town in rubble as he tunneled closer to the planet's core for the wish of infinite riches, tossing away every mining monkey or ape in his path. Now that's a neat little setup, a little bit of greed, perhaps a bit standard for a cartoon villain. But it's also the first villain setup Donkey Kong has gotten since 2007. And if you're not counting K. Rool, it's the first time a villain who's opposed Donkey Kong has had a setup greater than, and then he showed up at the end of the game after taking the bananas or the island, since Mario.
Oh no!
In 1982. And that ain't even the same DK. Void Kong is loudly in the spotlight to take charge as a new age DK villain, and he's sure to never let you forget it. In every scene he's in, Void pushes past his compatriots, interrupting and upstaging them to let you know exactly what he's all about, plundering the world for its resources and getting to the treasure deep inside the planet. Every layer of the Donkey Kong world he visits, he corrupts, summoning creatures from the Earth's crust to act as his minions, messing up the lives of the Bananza elders as he descends, terraforming the world to plaster massive monuments to himself all around. He even puts up propaganda posters that just say, "Bananas? Mine!" And we learn that later, he personally put up every single one of those, because he's just that obsessed with getting his greed out there. But his most insidious inventions are his Terravoiders, machines that infect the ground and all living organisms within, entrapping them in an unbreakable prison. Voided terrain is one thing the player can't smash through, and it makes for a pretty nifty way to make sure that nobody can get their hands on any Banandium if either it or they are completely immobilized. And let's toss mind control masks on top of it while we're at it. Why not? Might as well take the mightiest creatures we can find in the underground, like the Grand Harmonial and the Blusterwing, and use them to make banana collection even easier. Void is a classic venture capitalist, exploiting the worlds he's discovering, draining them of resources, and literally pouring them into his giant machine so he can eventually make more money. It's through this process that he entraps Pauline, a talented young singer with that pure and strong voice he's looking for, transforming her into a marketable rock mascot who may be a little too free-spirited to control right now, but should be helpless enough to take advantage of and serve as his key to the big shiny root at the end. Unfortunately for him, he picked the exact wrong time to enact his plan, as one banana-lovin' and friend-making ape ended up in Ingot Isle at the same time.
Donkey Kong.
DK's been a character who's been the face of his franchise by default, almost. The rare days had him play second banana gameplay-wise to Diddy Kong before being kidnapped, kidnapped again, passed over for Little Buddy again in starring in a racing game, and acting as sort of the default in DK64. From there, he's mostly been the vanilla character for whatever game he's playing. A suggestion of characterization for him a bit less important than how good his basic gameplay functionality is. His only real exceptions in being more than the default being a weird level of cartoony hyper-violence in Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and acting as a supportive boss monster who enabled his team to be their best and crushed enemy formations in Mario plus Rabbids Donkey Kong Adventure. After such a long hiatus and a history of not using the character for anything definitive other than funny cartoon monkey very strong, Bananza would capitalize on this. by making funny cartoon monkey even stronger. Everything the light touches is Donkey Kong's to tear off, bust through, ride on, and use as a weapon. His overwhelming power terraforming the world around him as he looks for sweet, edible riches. DK is a one-man mining operation, the natural world serving as a perfect place for treasure hunting. Scrooge McDuck if he enjoyed eating his gold because the potassium feels good.
Look at that luster. What a beauty.
DK is a freeing force of destruction. But he's also an incredibly friendly one. Donkey Kong will wreck the world around him without a second thought and punch enemies into next week. But every time he's around a peaceful NPC, he'll give him a little high five and thumbs up instead. He helps out those in need, he supports local businesses, he tips service industry workers. Just a stand-up guy. And when he encounters this odd rock that fell from the sky and has consciousness for some reason, after some mild confusion, he's very quick to befriend it. Singing, calming it down, letting him ride on his back, DK lets the little fella get comfortable, gain confidence, have fun despite being terrified and lost, and has it open up. Literally as the power of music frees Pauline from her crystalline prison when they sing together. Throughout the game, as DK busts through things and help people, Pauline grows more confident. Her animations changing when they take a nap together, her actions starting to mimic DK's own, her confidence shooting up every time she gets the opportunity to sing through DK's encouragement. Donkey Kong is a soothing force who cares about helping those around him, and doesn't intentionally make them grow, but they incidentally do by his example and how good of a fella he is. Because he loves bananas a whole lot. But he likes being your friend just a tiny bit more. And with all of that now existing, Void Kong suddenly has a ton to work off of as a foil. If Donkey Kong is the world's most positive force of destruction, Void is the terror of construction. For every friend that Donkey Kong makes, Void will plow through worlds, build on them, and make them less than what they were before, extorting all of the bananas he can out of locals before shoving off for the sake of progress. And that doesn't just extend to these idiots underground. Void is noted to be incredibly micromanaging of his employees, the likes of Grumpy and Poppy Kong undermined at every opportunity. They don't even like the guy, with Grumpy more focused on creating marbled marvels of engineering to beat Donkey Kong. It's some nice artwork on the side.
Oh, this is beautiful.
And Poppy outright quitting fighting you because this is just her 9 to 5. It's got good earnings potential, but she's not putting in any overtime. They're actually both quite cordial with DK after being beaten by the big ape, awkwardly accepting high fives from the guy when he was beating him down before, and after a second round with the bruiser, both of them quit their jobs to leave Void all alone. Cause you're a pretty cool guy who values relationships, and Void couldn't care less about the journey and the people he steps on. The destination is what matters, baby. All of this comes through in Void's boss encounters beautifully. The Primate President is encountered halfway through the game for a scrap, his pay dirt pile driver requiring a lot more bananas to fuel due to his impatience in activating the thing. And when you're ready to rumble, Void doesn't have time for that, fleeing to one of the previous layers in the underground in order to loot some leftover banandium from its inhabitants. DK has to chase Void back up through multiple floors in an incredibly engaging battle. Void terraforming the terrain that DK's grown accustomed to into mud, ice, and pillars of stone in order to throw him off. Donkey Kong's mastery and destruction of land and cleanness of movement have been his greatest strengths as a platforming character here, and Void is able to constantly limit that with a wall of brambles here, ice physics there, a random carpet of lava everywhere. Chase-themed bosses have appeared in 3D platformers before, even taking place in prior levels as a test of the player's skill. And usually they're kinda bad. but by tying in his terrain alteration to his moveset and using it to combat DK's most obvious forms of momentum, Void Kong is able to play to Bananza's strengths by taking away that freedom of movement, and contrast DK as this opportunistic egotist who's not destroying the world around him, but spoiling it rotten for everyone else. When Donkey Kong finally traps Void at the top of his drilling machine, the malicious Marmoset strikes back by hiding behind an invincible shield, voiding out the terrain to limit DK's options, and destroying the game's frame rate in hopes of smothering Donkey Kong in a glooby doom. And when the player manages to bust all of that open and approach the cowardly CEO, yeah, the rest of his health bar doesn't actually matter. After chasing him down for so long, you just get to wail on him in one uninterrupted sequence of putting a bully in his place. And it is wonderful. But I mean, he still stole all the bananas, and his drill gets to pierce the earth even further. All you did was slow him down. Void continues his tunnel-minded charge to the planet's core. Hint screens noting that he's running out of employees and has to rely more and more on random dudes he's brainwashing before he commits his greatest crime. In order to appease a group of rock people shaped like lions who live in a fast food-themed amusement park/factory shut up it makes sense, Donkey Kong constructs a giant, hundreds of meters tall burger. And Void instantly ruins it because it's in his way, voiding out the top. It gets fixed rather quickly, but I personally hate him for that, and you should too. But through all of his struggle, with nothing but his haste, Void eventually reaches to the end of the planet's forbidden lair, a holy land just moments away from the planet's core, and with what he believes to be the Banandium root laying dormant in its bedrock. Unable to stop you even with the underground's most legendary creatures and whatever muckety-muck is, Void curses his inept staff and fires every last one of them, not knowing that all of them have already quit, but notices you coming and lets you through to the Banandium root. Here, he reveals that, oh yes, Pauline can awaken the long-dormant root. Why don't you sing your heart out and grant all our wishes? His corrupt heart is sure to get the lion's share of wealth and exploit all he wants. And when Pauline refuses the money-grubbing monkey his song request, Void decides, oh, you'll sing? He'll just have to make you squeal first. Void's second boss fight is something of an inversion on his first. He's still running away and hurling projectiles at you, but it's no longer a freeform exploration of your movement options to get around obstacles. DK and Pauline's bond is solidified by Bananza transformations, super forms for Donkey Kong that do amazing things, from granting him super speed, to slowing down time, to destroying the toughest of terrains, to growing a cloaca. All amazing powers. Entirely brought forth through Pauline's singing. Void has limited you not through technology, but through sheer slime and cunning at your desire to not let him achieve his goals. Reduced to your base abilities as Donkey Kong through a gauntlet of tricky platforming. But here's where DK gets to turn the tables on the Primate President. The Forbidden Zone contains one secret technique. Anything you happen to throw will create a crystalline trail behind it. While Void may be in a place void of platforms, trying desperately to projectile spam you to death, now it's up to you to create the terrain to get right up in his face. Void certainly won't make it easy. The sheer amount of stuff he throws in your face is daunting and even more frame rate destroying. And those who relied on Bananza transformations all game or just plowed through without developing their inherent strengths are going to struggle a lot more than those who believe in base DK like Pauline does. But you can beat this bad boss back to solid ground. No matter how many void generators he creates to shield him, how many walls he puts up, how many minions he tries to revive from the depths to desperately stop you, as his theme desperately shouts, "Mine, mine, mine." You're bigger, faster, and stronger than anything he can toss out, can master your movement, and give him a beatdown right on top of the route, where there's nowhere left to run and no one left to save him. But what's a good CEO to do but take credit for the success of others? As soon as DK and Pauline are ready to make their wish, Void shoots one last beam out and directly hits Donkey Kong, petrifying him instantly. Pauline could, of course, instantly save him if she sang for him and let Void get everything he ever wanted. All of Pauline's confidence immediately erodes, having lost her protector and best friend. But DK's heart is strong, and his pecs do be dancin'. And even within a stone prison, he breaks out a jungle beat to encourage his little buddy to sing her heart out. No matter what their circumstances, no matter what Void might wish for, no matter what danger, they can face it together. They're strong because of each other. And that is something truly unbreakable. So let Void charge after the Banandium route. We'll shout as loud as we can the name of the one guy who can tear down everything he can build up. And once DK's broken free, Void is no use for these idiots anymore, so he hurtles himself forward, preparing to wish for the infinite riches he'd always wanted, and... But even given his somewhat shameful exit, I really love Void Kong and what he does for the DK franchise. I know I'm not breaking any new ground here. Wow, the video game boss acts as a thematic parallel to the hero with an interesting enough story behind him to get you invested that gets peppered in and reinforced throughout the game, with actual character dynamics with those around him to make character interactions worth investing in, with a main power that contrasts your main character and tests your abilities in a boss fight that is thematically and mechanically interesting. Why are we bad at making those? But with how long the DK franchise as a whole has been dormant, how it's been a series that often lets its environments and mechanics do the talking, how important it was to establish DK as a fully fleshed out character in this game, I think that nailing a dance partner for him to work off of was incredibly important. Through his characterization and dropping just enough breadcrumbs, Void creates the need to chase after him and give him a few dozen smacks to the face. This intrigue toward the banana bandit Cranky Kong is detailing with every layer you find him in, and how those traits can relate to Void, and add questions and theories about the world. Why can Void control these golden crocodilian statue people who seemingly revive from the ground? Did he make the All Mine remote? Or was that something crafted from the Banandium he found? How thorough was his corruption through greed? And did the root itself create a metamorphosis within him? Will Poppy ever find him again and hire him on as a subordinate just to work him to the bone like she says she will? These are questions and theories and bits of imagination encouraged directly by the game. And I think that the more characters we create in a world that makes us want to wonder about and connect with it, the more beautiful that world is and the more attached we become, even if it's a silly monkey game. And also, I think he's really fun. This is a character made for me to voice. If you need him voiced for whatever fan project, I will do that for free. This is me. Void Kong was stated to have survived his final showdown.
Hey, Peer from the future, guess what? Bananza DLC dropped right as we were finishing this episode, so, yeah, actually, Void is just here now, on DK Island. He's your wacky neighbor, who scams you into giving him money. That's great. Love that for him. More, please.
And I sincerely hope that we end up seeing more of the little guy. There's so much to work with gameplay scenarios and character interactions that can grow from it. And that's exciting! I'm excited for Donkey Kong lore again! Void Kong takes a wealth of ideas and mechanics and makes them his own. And to contrast Donkey Kong's newfound growth and kindness, perfectly shows how to design for spoil.